Hey guys, so in this video today what I wanted to talk about is the land surveying, which was our next step in this process. Basically, where we started is coming in after the seller had already surveyed the lot, professional surveyor that drew up the map for all the lots. And this caused an issue because we couldn't reach him and he was difficult to get an answer back from either by email, phone, etc. So we ended up having to find somebody else that had done surveying for our family before. And unfortunately, this meant that we had to pay for the original boundary survey, which ended up being over $600, I think $80 or $690 or something like this. So basically, I had gone out and on my own, based off the old plot plan, marked out where the rough stakes for the house had to be. And although this is okay for the earliest stage, especially if you have woods or land that just needs to be graded to a general specification, in general this would not be recommended if you already have the land cleared and you're able to get to the pinning part. So I'll go ahead and explain the process for land surveying for new construction and everything that's involved, because there's actually a lot more than I thought there was to it. So total construction package, as they like to call it, for surveying on new construction has a few different things to it, and actually 6 steps that I had no idea about, all the ones in the middle. So obviously in the beginning you want a boundary survey, which is number 1. And basically this is flagging or putting in stakes on the property lines, establishing a basis for the house placement and the location for septic and drain fields, and other improvements, obviously with respect to all the property lines that are on the deed. So that was number 1. And then on number 2, basically he gives you a plot plan, which is a map that shows the proposed house where you want to put that. Normally you give them the foundation plan, and then they draw the drain field on there for the septic or well or any other proposed improvement, any detached buildings, that type of thing, in relation to the property lines, any setbacks, easements, and other restrictions. And this is something that they provide for you as well. So normally a plot plan is actually not super expensive. Only $100 from our surveyor, and basically since we already had one, we saved $100 on that section. And the reason for that is we already had a previous plot plan that was already done by the first original surveyor, and since we have the tools, we just took that into Adobe Photoshop and Adobe PDF, and you can select the individual lines, remove what you don't need, and put in a house on your plot plan and that type of thing. So there are ways to definitely save money. Third thing that they go out and do is they put in the rough stakes. So this is the stake in the field where your proposed house building is going to go. They call it the house building envelope. Just typically just 4 stakes, regardless of how many corners you have, because again, rough clearing is just involving removing brush, removing trees, removing roots, that type of thing. So you're going to run over these stakes anyways. And as long as there's plenty of room on either side of the house, in general recommended about 30 foot on each side. We did 40 foot and 50 for the backyard, just so we can have a little more room to play around or have a backyard for the kids. So anyway, this is just to indicate where we need to clear the trees and the brush, have a rough grade. So the third time that they would come out to your house, and keep in mind each time they do come out it's $250 or so. And then if you have a lot of corners, the next stages require a little bit more money if you have a lot of corners, just because they start to get a little more exact on the placement and corners and all that, so that your concrete guys know where to put the footings. So the final staking is basically to stake the exterior corners of the proposed foundation using our foundation plans. Normally the client provides this to the surveyor, so you have to purchase some plans, and the footings will be dug using these stakes. Obviously using these stakes, once the footings are done, the stakes will be removed. So again, the surveyor needs to come out again a 4th time and pin the footings. Here, he uses concrete nails in the corners of the proposed foundation. That way the brick mason and the contractors will use these nails to begin the construction on the foundation. So this marks out the exact corners where they need to pour the footing, start the brick, whatever type of foundation that you're going to be doing. And 5th time that they need to come out is to do a foundation survey. So they will locate the new foundation and provide a survey map that shows the foundation as it's related to the property line. So basically, the banks and municipalities, many people will require this foundation survey before allowing us to move on any further, just to make sure that before we get too far in the process that we didn't screw things up and put the foundation where it's not supposed to go, in easements or anything like that. So with a 3-acre lot like ours, this isn't a big issue because we're somewhere in the middle and it's not going to get in the way of any easements or neighboring lot. And then the final surveys after the house is completed, the surveyor returns again, so another $250 later. After everything is complete, including any outbuildings, garages, improvements, driveways to the property, anything that's on there has to be shown on the survey. The banks, including the town and everybody, requires this final survey before actually giving you a certificate of occupancy. So again, this can get pretty expensive, and as I said, the boundary survey fee depends on how big and how long your property is, how long and big your lot is. And if your place is overgrown or has too many trees, they will just keep adding. It's pennies per linear foot, but if you have many linear feet, it goes from 50 cents to 75 cents. And if you have 700 feet on one side, you can imagine that that's already $300, $400 just right there. So then the plot plan was $100, the rough stake is about $250. Final staking is $250 to $350. To pin the footings is $250 to $350, depending on the corners again. And then the foundation survey is $200, and the final survey is $250. Now, as always, I'm going to mention things that will save you money, and some of the things that can save you money include doing the rough stake yourself. So if you have plenty of property, or even a small property, if you know just about where the house is going to go, you can do the rough staking yourself, just because at this stage of the process you're clearing so much area around the house for the contractors to be able to get in and for the trucks to make their deliveries, that basically there's quite a large margin for error. So there's definitely room there to save a little bit of money, up to $250. If you draw your own plot plan beforehand, that'll save you $100. So that's at least $350 saved. I definitely wouldn't recommend doing any of the others on your own, including any of the pin staking or anything like that. So you definitely want to spend the money where you need to, and foundation is definitely going to go there. Anyway, guys, I know this is a pretty long video, but I wanted to give you some exact numbers, figures, and things that we went through and how to save a little bit of money. And this way you guys can get a pretty good idea of what you need to do. So if you have any questions or comments, throw them below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If not, you know what to do. And everybody have a blessed day.